Imagine a perfectly routine life, a predictable rhythm, and then, well, one morning, something utterly inexplicable happens.
Just out of the blue.
Exactly. You're arrested by strangers for reasons you can't even begin to grasp. The day passes in this kind of blur of confusion, and by evening, that bewilderment, it turns into an urgent, almost desperate need to restore some semblance of order, right? To make sense of the chaos.
Yeah, I need to just get things back on track somehow.
So you're joining us for a deep dive into just such an evening. We're following a man named Kay as he navigates the bewildering aftermath of a morning encounter that really just upended his world.
And we're focusing in, aren't we, on a specific chapter?
We are. Looking closely at Kay's interactions with his landlady, Frau Grubach, and a fellow lodger, Fräulein Bürstner.
Key figures in his immediate world.
Our insights today, they're drawn from an excerpt detailing the specific post-arrest evening for Kay. And our mission, well, it's really to unpack Kay's psychological state, faced with this profound ambiguity.
And also to analyze the social codes, the power dynamics that are shifting within his apartment building.
Right, and to peel back the layers of uncertainty surrounding this quote-unquote arrest, as Kay tries to explain it, or maybe more accurately, avoid explaining it to the people around him.
It really is a journey into that unsettling mix of routine on one hand and total disruption on the other.
It's remarkable how quickly Kay's world is just thrown into disarray, yet his immediate, almost instinctive response is to try and reassert control.
To impose order on that chaos. It's fascinating.
That impulse is so telling, isn't it? It's almost as if the magnitude of the arrest is just too much to process, so he retreats to what he can control, or what he thinks he can control. The manageable stuff.
Let's delve into what his normal control looked like. Let's set the scene for Kay's typical evening. Usually he's at the bank until 9.
Long hours.
Yep. Then a short walk, maybe to an inn with some older men at their regular table. His bank manager sometimes invites him out, which is, a sign of Kay's valued diligence. He's seen as reliable, professional.
And then once a week, there's a visit to Elsa at a wine bar. It's all very structured, almost ritualistic.
Predictable. Safe, maybe?
But tonight, everything is different. The day's been busy, full of hard work. People even wished him happy birthday, so it suggests he's generally well-liked, right?
Yeah, not some kind of outcast, usually.
Yet Kay bypasses his usual routine entirely. He's consumed by this almost obsessive feeling that, and I'm quoting here, the events of that morning had caused great disorder throughout Frau Grubach's apartment, and that he specifically was needed to restore order.
Wow. He really internalizes it as his responsibility to fix the apartment's order.
He genuinely believes that once this domestic order is restored, all trace of the morning's events would simply be erased. Poof, gone.
As if tidying up physically can somehow magically undo the arrest itself.
He even feels satisfied that the 3 clerks involved in his arrest are now just swallowed up back into the mass of bank employees.
Right.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Precisely. Kay isn't really seeking answers about the arrest itself, not yet anyway. He's attempting this kind of psychological reset.
Yeah.
His focus on tidying the external space, the apartment, it's a classic defense mechanism, isn't it? Against the incomprehensible internal chaos he's feeling.
Absolutely. He's trying to normalize an utterly abnormal situation, not by understanding it, but by, sweeping it away.
Hoping he'll just disappear if he ignores it hard enough or tidies hard enough.
And this need for control, it manifests the second he steps into the building. It's about 9:30. He spots the janitor's son, just a young lad, smoking a pipe in the dim hallway. Kay immediately confronts him, demanding, "Who are you? The janitor's son." Then he just dismisses him, like the boy had done something wrong, but Kay, magnanimously forgave him.
That quick dismissive interaction, it's very telling. It hints at Kay's heightened state, maybe a pre-existing sense of his own authority, even in his private life.
Yeah, trying to pull rank.
He's quick to assert dominance, almost like he's trying to reestablish a hierarchy that the morning's events have just profoundly shaken.
So instead of going to his own room, Kay heads directly to Frau Grubach's door. He finds her darning stockings, her room's perfectly restored, breakfast dishes cleared.
Back to normal. Or appearing normal.
She greets him with this extreme friendliness, calling him her best and dearest lodger, assuring him her door is always open. Kay observes the tidiness, thinking a woman's hand can do so much unseen, and he even feels a certain gratitude towards her for it.
Right. So from a social perspective, this interaction, it establishes that delicate, almost theatrical contract within the boarding house, doesn't it?
Totally.
Kay is kind of probing, trying to gauge if his private disorder has spilled over into public perception. Have anyone noticed? What do they think?
And Frau Grubach, for her part, she's meticulously maintaining appearances, projecting this image of normalcy that Kay desperately needs to believe in right now.
She's playing her part in restoring that order he craves.
Kay then brings it up. He mentions the men who were here this morning. Frau Grubach's reaction is this fascinating little microdrama.
Oh, yeah. How so?
She starts calm, then becomes slightly more animated, but then just as quickly regains her composure. She insists it didn't make any extra work.
Downplaying it, keeping things smooth.
Kay presses, though. He says, I'm sure it did make work for you, but it won't happen again. And she agrees, but with an almost melancholy smile, saying, no, it can't happen again.
That melancholy smile is interesting. Like she knows more or feels more than she's letting on.
And then she offers this kind of confession. She admits she listened at the door a little.
Oh, she did. Okay.
And that the two guards told me a few things, too. She tells Kay he was arrested, true, but not the way a thief's arrested.
Not like a common criminal.
Right. She describes it as something very learned that I can't understand, but which one doesn't have to understand. She insists she's particularly concerned about his happiness.
Wow. Okay, so this informal report from Frau Grubach is just crucial, isn't it? Because it doesn't clarify anything at all.
Not a bit.
In fact, it actually deepens the whole Kafkaesque ambiguity. Her description of the arrest as something very learned, it offers this vague, intellectualized explanation that gives zero concrete answers. Just more mystery.
It's almost like she's trying to soothe him by making it sound important but incomprehensible.
Exactly. It's her way of comforting him, perhaps, but it just reinforces the unsettling, unfathomable nature of Kay's whole predicament.
Kay's response is equally telling. He agrees, but only to an extent, taking what he calls a harsher view. He says, I don't see it as something learned, but simply as nothing at all. I was taken by surprise, that was all.
So he's dismissing her learned theory completely. It was just nothing. An accident.
He genuinely believes if he'd simply behaved sensibly that morning, woken up on time, had breakfast in the kitchen, asked her to bring his clothes, that the whole thing would have been nipped in the bud.
Ah, the fantasy of control again. If only he'd done things differently.
He contrasts this vulnerability at home with his bank job, where he's constantly involved in my work, therefore always on the alert. And he says such a surprise situation there would actually be a real pleasure to deal with.
Because at the bank, he knows the rules. He feels competent, in charge. Home is different, unpredictable.
He then tries to sort of seal their agreement on this it was nothing idea with a handshake. But Frau Grubach, she's clearly flustered, probably not fully grasping his intellectual dismissal of the whole thing.
He's reacting emotionally, maybe?
Seems like it. She says, don't take it to heart so, Herr Kay, her voice apparently filled with tears, and she completely forgets to shake his hand. And Kay's immediate reaction, he realizes how worthless any assent from this woman was.
Ouch, that's harsh. He dismisses her emotional response because it's not the logical validation he wanted.
Exactly. It highlights his increasing isolation. He's looking for intellectual agreement, a way to logically erase the morning, but all she offers is, well, human sympathy.
And that's not what he needs, or thinks he needs, right now. His professional life at the bank is all about control, clear rules, but his home, it's suddenly become exposed, unpredictable.
He just can't truly connect or get meaningful support, even from someone who seems genuinely trying to offer it in her own way.
So he feels alone in this, even when someone's right there trying to help.
Right. So feeling that lack of, meaningful assent, Kay shifts gears. He asks Frau Grubach if Fräulein Bürstner is in.
Ah, the other lodger.
Frau Grubach says no, she's at the theater and will be late. Kay claims he just wanted to apologize for having used her room this morning.
An excuse, maybe, or genuine.
Hard to tell.
Yeah.
Frau Grubach even offers to show Kay that Bürstner's room has been tidied up, opening the door. Kay looks inside, sees the room in the moonlight, everything in its place. Then he looks back at Frau Grubach as if she were to blame for Bürstner being late.
Kay's sudden concern for Bürstner is intriguing, isn't it? Is it a genuine apology? Is he trying to gather more intel on how the morning's events were seen?
Or just looking for another distraction.
Could be. And look, blaming Frau Grubach for Bürstner's absence, it just reveals his self-centered perspective again, doesn't it? He needs someone to be accountable, even if it's for something totally unrelated to the real issue.
But just as you think Kay maybe has Frau Grubach pegged as just sympathetic but useless, she takes this completely unexpected turn.
Oh, yeah.
She pivots from solace to scandal. explaining Bürstner's lateness by saying, "It's the way young people are." She then launches into full-blown gossip.
Gossip about Bürstner.
Yep. She feels Bürstner should have more self-respect, claims she's twice seen her in out-of-the-way streets and with a different gentleman each time, calling it painfully embarrassing.
Whoa. Okay, that is a turn.
She insists Kay is the only one I've told, but she plans to have a word about it with the young lady herself, saying it's in the interest of every lodger to try and keep my guest house pure.
Wow. What's striking there is the abrupt switch, right? From solicitous landlady to judgmental moralizer. Her sudden worry about purity feels like a sharp contrast to her earlier sympathy for Kay's own ambiguous trouble.
It really does.
This is where those domestic social codes become weapons, you know. The apartment house suddenly transforms into this little stage for judgment. It kind of mirrors, in a small way, the larger unseen forces Kay himself is grappling with.
Kay responds with sudden, intense fury. He exclaims, "You're on the wrong track entirely. And anyway, you've clearly misunderstood what I said about Fräulein Bürstner. I didn't mean it like that."
So he pushes back hard.
He warns her, very forcefully, not to say anything to her. Then he slams the door, ignoring her soft knocking that follows. What do you make of that? Such a strong reaction from Kay. Is he genuinely defending Bürstner?
It feels, well, multi-layered, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He might feel some protectiveness, sure, but it feels more like Kay protecting his own precarious position again.
How so?
Frau Grubach's gossip feels like another uncontrolled variable in his already chaotic day. He's desperate to contain any further damage to his own social standing, maybe, especially after he decided her assent about his own situation was worthless.
Right, like he can't handle any more judgment floating around.
Exactly. It's almost as if he can't tolerate another source of disorder or potential judgment in his immediate environment. He needs to shut it down.
So, unable to sleep after this, Kay decides he needs to see for himself when Fräulein Bürstner came home.
Okay, so he's going to wait up for her.
He briefly considers this idea of punishing Frau Grubach by convincing Bürstner to quit the lodging house with him, but he quickly dismisses it as absurd and, above all, pointless and contemptible.
Good call. Probably wouldn't work anyway.
He lies on his sofa, door to the hall just ajar, calmly smoking a cigar until about 11 p.m. Trying to seem patient, maybe?
But inside, he's probably churning.
Oh, yeah. Because then he grows impatient, starts pacing the hall. He admits to himself he feels no particular desire for her, can't even really remember what she looks like.
This is not a bad attraction.
No, he's just irritated that her late return home meant the day ended in more disquiet and disorder. He actually blames her for him missing dinner and his planned visit to Elsa.
Wow. Classic K projection again.
Yeah.
It's her fault. His day is still messed up.
And he still intends to visit Elsa later, after he's talked to Bürstner. So this meeting is like another task to tick off before he can get back to his routine.
Yeah, his desire for Bürstner, it seems less about her and more about his relentless need to restore order to his disrupted day, his disrupted self.
Definitely.
He blames her for his own missed plans, which just highlights his profound self-centeredness and his inability to deal with the unexpected or, take responsibility for his own shifting priorities.
Yeah.
He sees her as just another piece of the disorder he needs to manage.
So it's past 11:30 when Kay finally hears Bürstner coming up the stairs. Kay, who had been walking around noisily before, suddenly fled, hiding behind his door.
Hiding? That's odd. Theatrical.
Very. She comes in, shivers, pulls a silk shawl around her, locks her main door. Kay, realizing she's about to go into her room, whispers, "Fräulein Bürstner," through the crack in his door.
A whisper from the dark.
Creepy.
She asks, "Is someone there?" And then Kay emerges from his dark room.
Quite the entrance. Bürstner is surprised, naturally, but she smiles, extends her hand. Kay tells her he's been waiting since 9 and that what prompted him only happened this morning.
Setting it up like it's really important and urgent.
She finds it a little odd, but invites him into her room anyway. Asks him to wait while she turns on the light, then tells him to switch off the hall light. But she remains standing, still wearing her hat, despite saying she's dead tired.
Yeah, the whole theatricality of Kay hiding and then suddenly appearing, combined with Bürstner's polite but maybe slightly put-out response, and her standing with her hat on. It sets this unusual guarded tone immediately.
Right, there's a boundary there.
It subtly underscores that unease or formality. Despite Kay's pretty intrusive behavior, she's definitely maintaining some distance.
Kay begins by apologizing for the disorder in her room that morning, caused by strangers and against my will, though, as I said, through my fault. Lots of qualifiers there.
Hedging his bets. trying to explain but not explain.
But Bürstner, she cuts right through his introductory remarks. She says, I always ignore introductory remarks. Huh. Direct. I like her.
Which Kay says makes my task easier. But then she notices her photographs have been messed up. She exclaims, so someone's been in my room who'd no right to be here. Kay silently curses Kaminer, one of the bank clerks involved that morning.
Ah, so the focus shifts immediately. It's fascinating how Bürstner's directness just slices through Kay's convoluted, self-excusing explanations. The focus zooms right in, not on Kay's vague fault, but on the very real physical violation of her personal space. It makes the intrusion tangible, immediate. She's not interested in his abstractions. She's looking at the concrete impact right there on her table.
She then flat out forbids Kay from entering her room in her absence. Kay tries to explain it away as a commission of inquiry with 3 bank clerks, implying one of them couldn't keep his hands off her photos. Then he asks her if she thinks he's guiltless.
Fishing for validation again, maybe? Or trying to gauge her judgment?
Maybe. Bürstner just laughs at the idea of a commission of inquiry for Kay. She finds it amusing.
Understandable. It sounds rather grand. She says, it must be a serious crime if they set a commission of inquiry on someone straight away, but then logically deduces he can't have committed such a crime since, well, he's at liberty. He's standing right there.
Right. Her practical, almost legal-minded response, even though it's tinged with humor, immediately cuts through Kay's vague self-pity and his evasions.
Yeah, she's sharp.
She applies simple, real-world reasoning to a situation that Kay is desperately trying to keep mysterious and undefined. Her logical approach is such a stark contrast to the illogical nature of Kay's whole predicament.
And here's where it gets really interesting for Kay, or at least he thinks so. Bürstner reveals she actually has an interest in matters to do with the courts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, finds them uncommonly interesting, says they have an attraction all of their own, and she announces she's starting as a secretary in a lawyer's office next month, hoping to improve my knowledge in that area.
Okay, Kay must see that as an opening.
Instantly. He says, then you'll be able to help me a little with my trial. He apparently means it seriously, or at least semi-seriously. He feels he needs an advisor.
From secretary-to-be to legal advisor in one conversation, he moves fast.
Bürstner agrees she could advise, but logically, she needs to know what it's about. And Kay reveals the core problem. That's the problem. I don't know myself.
Boom. There it is. The central absurdity.
Right.
And that's the core dilemma for Kay, isn't it? And Bürstner's practical, legal mind just struggles with it. How can you be on trial without knowing the charge? Her disappointment is palpable. She says, then you've been pulling my leg.
Yeah, she thinks he's joking.
It highlights just how utterly incomprehensible Kay's situation is to an outside observer who expects, logic and reason and basic information.
Kay has to insist he's not pulling her leg. He clarifies it wasn't really a commission of inquiry. He just called it that because I don't know another name for it. No inquiries were made. I was just arrested, but by a commission.
It's still so vague. Arrested by a commission. What does that even mean?
Bürstner, still sitting on the ottoman, laughs again. She asks, what was it like? Kay says terrible, but the text notes he's simultaneously entirely absorbed in the sight presented by Fräulein Bürstner.
Uh-oh.
Her chin on her hand, slowly striking her thigh. Then Kay proposes, show you how it was.
A reenactment. Now.
Yep. He gets worked up, asks to move her bedside table. She reluctantly agrees, saying, I'm so tired, I'm letting things go farther than is proper, and he places it in the middle of the room.
She's clearly uncomfortable, but maybe too tired or bewildered to stop him.
Kay then proceeds to reenact the whole scene in vivid detail. He plays the supervisor, he points out where the 2 guards were on the trunk, the 3 young men by the photographs. He even mentions a white blouse that was hanging from the window catch. Only, by the way.
Adding these specific, almost irrelevant details.
Then he places himself standing on this side of the table. He describes the supervisor as a real slovenly lout, and then he shouts, Joseph K. Not super loudly, but as the text says, in such a way that the name seemed to spread out gradually in the room.
Wow. That reenactment. It's such a powerful, almost desperate attempt by Kay to externalize the chaos, right? Do you maybe control it by performing it?
Yeah, taking charge of the narrative.
By playing the supervisor, he momentarily takes on that role of authority, trying to gain some mastery over an event that completely stripped him of it. But in the act, he's also reliving that unsettling call of his own name, bringing the terrifying anonymity and strangeness of his arrest to life, both for himself and for Bürstner.
But just as Kay shouts his name, bam! There are sharp, loud, regular knocks on the door to the adjoining room.
Oh. Talk about timing.
Fräulein Bürstner went pale and put her hand to her heart. Kay is startled too because he was completely immersed in his performance.
Reality intrudes.
Bürstner whispers that Frau Grubach's nephew, an army captain, has been sleeping in that adjoining room since yesterday, as no other room was free. She'd completely forgotten about him and is visibly upset that Kay shouted.
The abrupt reintroduction of external reality into Kay's little drama, especially with this figure of the captain next door, it creates immediate, palpable tension.
Definitely.
It's a stark reminder that their private moment isn't truly private at all within the close quarters of that apartment. And Kay's attempts at control, they're so easily shattered by these outside forces he can't manage.
Kay tries desperately to calm Bürstner down, even kisses her on the forehead, whispering, "I'll sort everything out."
His go-to response, "I'll manage this."
He reassures her that Frau Grubach worships me and believes everything I say, and adds that she's dependent on me because she borrowed a large sum of money.
Using leverage now.
He guarantees he can get Frau Grubach to support any more or less reasonable explanation you want to give as to why we're here together. He even suggests they say he burst in on you.
So he's offering to take the blame, but in a way that still involves manipulating Frau Grubach and constructing a lie.
Bürstner, though, staring at the floor, shoulders drooping, she rejects his offer flat out.
Good for her.
She says the knocking itself, not the captain's presence, is what startled her. She finds his whole offer insulting despite your good intentions and declares, "I take responsibility for everything that happens in my room." Then she asks him to leave, saying she needs to be alone.
That rejection of Kay's elaborate scheme, that's a pivotal moment, isn't it? She asserts her autonomy, her dignity. She refuses to be drawn into his manipulations or to share his burden of deceit.
Absolutely.
Her line, "I take responsibility," is such a stark contrast to Kay's constant attempts to control, deflect blame, and avoid any kind of personal accountability. She's carving out this little space of integrity in a world that's getting increasingly ambiguous and manipulative around Kay.
Kay holds her hand, then her wrist, asking if she's angry. She says no. He holds her wrist again, and this time she kind of tolerates it and leads him towards the door. He had apparently firmly resolved to leave,
Okay.
but just as he's about to step out, he halts, as if he hadn't expected to see a door there, like he's momentarily lost again.
Or maybe creating another moment.
Perhaps. Bürstner seizes this hesitation to free herself, opens the door, slips quickly into the hall, and whispers to Kay that the captain next door actually has his light on and is probably amusing himself at our expense.
So they're being listened to, potentially.
Seems like it. Kay then steps out into the hall, grasps her, and kisses her on the lips and then all over her face like a thirsty animal furiously lapping at the water of the spring it has found at last.
Whoa! That's intense and sudden.
He kisses her neck, leaving his lips there for a long time. Then a noise from the captain's room makes him finally look up.
The observer effect again.
He says he'll go now. He wishes he could call her by her first name, but realizes he doesn't know it.
After all that, he doesn't even know her name. Tells you everything.
She just nods wearily, lets him kiss her hand, half turned away from him already, and goes back into her room, shoulders drooping.
Yeah, that final, intense embrace. It's a moment of raw, impulsive passion, maybe desperation from Kay, but it's immediately undercut, isn't it, by the captain's unseen presence and Bürstner's just weary resignation.
It feels very one-sided.
And Kay's inability to even use her first name, despite that physical intimacy, it just underscores the profound superficiality of their connection and his continued fundamental isolation. It's this desperate grasping for connection, yet ultimately, it's a failure to truly connect with another person.
So, Kay goes to bed, and apparently quickly fell asleep. But first, he thought for a while about how he behaved. The text says he was satisfied with it, but was surprised that he wasn't even more satisfied.
Even his satisfaction is incomplete, troubled.
And get this. He was seriously concerned for Fräulein Bürstner because of the captain.
Okay, so Kay's satisfaction is fleeting, incomplete. It's a clear reflection of his persistent internal disquiet, isn't it? Nothing feels quite right. And his concern for Bürstner seems less about her actual well-being and more about the potential external repercussions of their encounter.
Like how it might affect him.
Exactly. How it might affect his own reputation, or again, that fragile sense of order he's so desperately trying to maintain or reconstruct. It always seems to circle back to his own carefully constructed and now threatened world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we've really seen Kay's desperate attempts to restore order after this bewildering event. We've seen his shifting tactics in navigating these social interactions with Frau Grubach, with Bürstner.
And that profound disconnect between his internal experience, his panic and confusion, and the external world he's trying so hard to manage.
Right. From Frau Grubach's well-meaning but ultimately worthless assent to Fräulein Bürstner's surprising independence and refusal to be manipulated, Kay really struggles to find any solid ground or genuine understanding.
The night absolutely ends not with resolution, but with even more ambiguity. And this unsettling mixture Kay feels of, like satisfaction and concern. Nothing is settled.
So, a final thought for you to take away. Kay believes if he had just behaved sensibly that morning, the whole arrest would have been nipped in the bud.
Right, that fantasy of control again.
But given the totally opaque nature of his arrest and his own pretty significant self-deception that we've seen tonight, do you think any amount of sensible behavior on his part could truly alter his fate?
Or is he simply caught in a system, a process, something far bigger than him that he cannot possibly comprehend, let alone control? Something to mull over as you go about your own, hopefully well-ordered day.